Whoa, the robots, they know. All right, well, Devon, everyone gets a song. Everyone
Oh,
knows
great.
that. Devon Drew. Devon
Wow.
Drew, a name so great, it's a whole song just for
Mm,
you.
thank
The
you.
the very funny, the very talented, the very excitable,
Mm,
amazing, energetic, one of a kind, newly engaged from
yeah.
the East Coast all the way here to Los Angeles, the comedic stylings. Welcome, the very cool Devon Drew.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction.
Well, welcome to the podcast. We're back on the podcast train here. Listeners will be happy that the hiatus is over. But Devon Drew,
Mm.
how are things going? How's your summer been wrapping up here?
My summer's been pretty good, mostly chilling. I went camping. That was really lovely.
Ooh,
Um,
where'd you go camping? Where'd you go camping?
I went to Shaver Lake, which is in California. It's in the Sierra National Forest, like the tip of it, I think.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's about like 4.5 hours north of LA. So
you know what's an interesting thing? We're gonna get at this because you're from Northern Virginia, but an interesting
yes.
thing about people in Los Angeles I've found is that anytime they go to the beach or anytime they go camping, more often than not, they find a secluded area
Uh-huh.
whereas like, oh yeah, I know about like this little beach where, they Blink 182 filmed a music video and nobody knows about it or nobody
Yeah.
goes there. But my instinct, especially growing up in Florida, was to go to the beach or the camping site where everybody is. Like
Yeah,
the more people, the better. I just
I
want
think so.
everyone there. Yeah. Are you
And
are you like that too?
yeah, I think like this camping trip is with my fiance's family.
Oh,
So it's his whole family. So it's a lot of people. I love like family trips, like big family trips. I love those.
oh,
But
nice.
I had never really been camping until I started dating Tim, and then I started going camping. But before that, like on the East Coast, when we would go to beaches, we would always go to like Ocean City, Maryland, which is like a huge trashy beach that everybody goes to.
Oh man, I
And
love those.
yeah,
Well, before we get too far into it, you dropped the fiance drop. Congratulations on getting engaged.
thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
she's locked
Oh,
up, folks.
sorry.
She's locked up. Is okay. So before we get into it, we like to do plugs up top. So is there anything you'd like to plug to listeners, or
Hmm.
any corners of the internet that you want to draw them to, or any upcoming
Uh,
projects or shows?
yeah, I mean, I think just follow me on Instagram at Devon M. Drew. You can stay up to date on everything I'm doing. Come see
Nice.
my stand-up shows, whatever. And stay tuned for I booked a part on a TV show, which I feel like
Ooh.
I can't say too much yet.
All right.
I mean,
Nice.
maybe I can like legally, but just like juju wise, I'm like,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
I
But
mean, yeah, I'm watching The Office right now. So
yes,
was it that? Did you book it on that?
am I on The Office?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, cool. Cool. It's
yeah,
crazy that show's still going.
I'm actually coming in as the boss.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I'm taking Steve Carell's part. Yeah,
Oh my God.
you
That's
know,
crazy.
they loved me, so
Well, just then, you know what? To be safe, I'm just gonna subscribe to your Instagram, follow you, and then watch all the TV I can, hoping that you pop up.
yeah, I mean, once I can talk about it, it'll be all over my feed and stories. So just
Yes.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, congrats. Well, all right.
thank you.
So we're gonna follow you there and look for your shining face to pop up. Now,
Yes,
okay, Devon Drew. So you were born in one place, raised in another place.
yeah.
Devon Drew, please tell me about your hometown.
Okay, so I was born in Maryland. I was born in a small town, La Plata, Maryland.
Oh,
I grew up there until like fourth grade. So it's like a weird, I don't know. I feel like
mm,
whenever you move as a kid, you're like, which one is my hometown? But we then moved to Northern Virginia, which is my hometown because that's like I remember I have the memories there, like my family's
yeah.
house is still there. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm just using fourth grade as an example. I don't
Yeah.
remember. I don't know what I really remember before fourth grade. Like, I remember I had a best friend named Adam.
Yeah.
I remembered I had a couple teachers that I remember. One of them, my third grade teacher, his name was Mr. Irwin. He only had one arm, and he was really into the Titanic sinking. Yeah, I know. He would talk about it all the time.
Oh gosh. What was this class? Just like an elementary class where they
It
taught everything?
was third grade. Yeah, and he kind of like taught. Yeah, he taught everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forget how
And
school works.
yeah, they there weren't like little
Yeah,
classes for
there was
everything.
one big class.
Yeah, if it was, I mean, especially growing up in Florida, it was a chore just to keep all the kids in one place at once. And once
Yeah.
they did that, it's like, hey, we're locking the doors. It's jail in here. But yeah, so
Yeah.
my third grade teacher, his name was Mr. Irwin. He had one arm. He loved, oh God, Chevy, like Stingray, what are they called? Corvettes. He loved Corvettes,
Mm.
and he would get into arguments over with kids, with third graders, about the Titanic and how it sunk.
Wow.
Meaning, yeah, meaning like one girl was like, if they tried to avoid the iceberg, but if they would have just hit it head on, it wouldn't have sunk. And then she's
Yeah.
in third grade. I don't know how old you are in third grade, like maybe like 9, 10 years old. And
Yeah, something.
he's like, actually, no, bro. And he would like yell at him.
So do you feel like you know a lot about Titanic now? Like you are
I just know that I would have probably hit in the back of a car and definitely tried to have sex
yeah.
if I was on that boat.
The hand.
No, yeah, no, I don't remember anything. But which is to say, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anything before fourth grade even counts.
I don't think so. And I think too, sometimes the things you remember, it's not because of your memory. It's because of like pictures or stories that other people tell you. And then you're like, yeah, I remember. Like, I think I only really remember, like, I remember my neighborhood friends. And we used to like, because we lived in like the woods in Maryland. So we used to like, we would go in those woods. And I remember that.
You would go in those woods. What? Yeah. Would you bury stuff, or would you just go
I
out there and
mean,
like burn stuff?
no, like I think we would just play wood games. Like we would
Wood
pretend.
games?
I don't know. Like I think I had such an imagination back then that I would just create full stories and lives, and we would like go and just prance through the woods pretending we were different people or like a family. Or I remember one time we did come across bones and we were like, are these human beings?
Oh my God.
But probably not. Probably just like a deer, I hope.
Probably just some deer bones, nothing to be
Just
afraid of.
nothing scary at all, just a couple of deers.
We didn't, like, I remember for a few years there, my go-to Halloween costume was Batman.
Nice.
And this is like growing up, we could only, you only have a finite amount of things, but your imagination is, is what you make it. But I had a Batman costume, and then I had like, I guess like a Zorro mask or something.
Yeah.
And then this like crazy wig. I don't know where I got it, but me and my friends would run around and pretend to be Batman, Robin, and Howard Stern.
Not on Halloween, just for fun any day of the year.
Just yeah. And in Florida, a lot of times it feels like Halloween's
It does,
year-round.
yeah.
But yeah, oh my God, that's terrifying. Did you ever find anything
Yeah.
scarier than like little deer bones or human bones, whatever they were?
No, I mean bones. One time my brother stepped on a nail. That was dramatic. I think one time somebody robbed a bank and then they were hiding out in the woods behind our house.
And you ran into them?
No, we were in the house, safely in the house. But
Okay.
like we knew, no gosh, could you imagine I'm just playing an imaginary game and there's a robber?
Yeah, a guy runs through with a gun and like a big like sack of money with a dollar sign on it.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess I imagine that guy.
He can't be real.
He can't be real.
Were you bummed to move? I'm at when you're in fourth grade.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you're always a little bummed because you're like, oh, I just made all these friends and now I'm gonna go to a new place. And but I think I was excited too, because it, I was very young, so it seemed very fun and new. I don't think it hits you I mean, probably my older siblings felt more sad, but like I don't think it hit me until we had moved. And then I
Mm.
was like, oh, this is a very different area and people are not nice here.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh. So you didn't feel necessarily welcomed in Northern Virginia.
Virginia, no,
Yeah.
it's interesting because even though Maryland is technically more north than Virginia, the way that the state lies is like the part of Maryland we were from was southern, so it was like down over here, and then we
Mhm.
moved to Northern Virginia up here. So it was like I was moving from like the woodsy South Maryland where people are like, let's all hang out in the woods to
Hmm.
a very suburban, like middle upper class neighborhood where people were
Oh.
very snooty, and a lot of people, because from in Northern Virginia, it's like 30 minutes to DC, like
Oh
very
wow.
close. So but a lot of people who live there work in, or their parents worked in the government or in the city.
Yeah,
So
and
it
they would
was it
commute.
was it was very different. I was like, oh, these people, they don't run in the woods for fun. Like,
They don't run in the woods for fun. They run in the woods to escape their parents, and
yeah,
the parents that the people that their parents are cheating on their
yes,
significant others with. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, one thing that was interesting about Florida, you mentioned in Maryland, you went to like a trashy beach and stuff.
yeah,
In Florida, we have very trashy beaches, up and
yes,
down the coast. The Gulf Coast is the trashier side, I would say. But we also, growing up, we always had, like, we called it the woods, but it was really swamp.
yes,
And
yeah.
all the kids would go there. And it was very interesting because it was always, the kids were always divided by school. There was like this preppy school, there was like the redneck school, there was like
Hmm.
the drug dealer school you didn't want to go to. Then there were the private schools. And then weirdly enough, everyone had like a different celebrity football player that came from each school. Like like Deion Sanders went to the redneck school,
Yeah.
North Fort Myers. This kid Nate Allen went to this Cape Coral drug school, which was like, the stories you would hear about all of them would be like at North Fort Myers. It's like, oh, all the kids went mudding this weekend on their
Yeah.
lifted trucks.
Yeah.
And then like at Cape Coral, they like there was a raid. At Cape Coral High, there was like a raid, and like 10 kids got busted for having weed or something like that.
What was your school known for?
So I went to North Fort Myers High School for two
So the Hickey,
years.
the
Yeah,
Hick one?
the Hickey. Yeah, this is the Hickey school. Everyone was wearing
Okay.
turtlenecks.
Oh, yeah. I meant
Yeah,
like a hick, like redneck, but
Hicks. Oh yeah, Hick-E, like Hick-ish. Yeah.
okay.
Yes, it's very rednecky. And then I transferred to this other school called Bishop Road, which is a private school, so that
Mhm.
I would have a better opportunity to play soccer.
Oh,
And the weird thing was, the the point of this is we would all party in the same places, essentially, the same swamps, the
yeah.
same, we would always end up at the same type of like house parties. And in Cape Coral, there's like where I grew up, northern Cape Coral was so undeveloped at the time that a friend, their parents could be out of town, and like they're like, hey, come over to this house party. And there would be the only house on the block, and every other house was being
Yeah.
like developed. Um,
Crazy.
so yeah, it was which was nuts. And then the only interesting thing, or thing that was different about going to the private school, was the kids were like heavier into drugs, like
Yeah.
intense drugs. and
Yeah.
and then kegs sometimes would be filled with Corona instead of Natty Light.
Oh, classy.
You know
Oh,
what I mean? It's like, yeah, and that was always a dig. Like my public school friends were like, "Oh, you're gonna go have one of those Corona kegs? You think you're better than us?" And I'm like, I'm not paying for it. I was just invited, dude. Come on.
yeah. And you're like, it tastes better. So yeah, I am better than you.
Sure, but the older you've gotten, have you like? Do you love do you like beer, or do you just tolerate it? Because I go in and out.
I love beer.
Do you really?
Yes, it's in my blood. Like my family is Irish and I've been drinking beer since I was like 7, which
Oh my
is,
God, really?
yeah, yeah. Like
That's
I so terrible.
that's so cool though. Like, that's so
Yeah.
cool. Were you the little kid at like the barbecue? It's like, oh, come here, let's give Devon a little beer.
I was
like a
so
baby sized beer.
I was so manipulative that at family parties, I would go up to relatives and I would go, "Can I try it?" And then everybody would give me a sip. And so then I would have gotten the sip of everyone's beer.
You knew what you're doing.
Yeah, I was like, I want more. Like, what? This stuff tastes good. I've always liked the taste of it. And I know it's like bitter, but like it's good.
Yeah. Oh my God, how fun. I don't think I got into trouble one time because I didn't really drink till I was like 18. And I was like, I don't know why, but I was watching TV with my grandparents and a Mike's Hard Lemonade commercial came on. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, those do taste good. And my grandma was like, you've had that before? I was like 16, 17. And I was like, oh yeah, who has it? And then and then I realized there was alcohol in it, and
Yeah.
they were like, all right, well, maybe we should
Who's letting you taste that?
yeah, exactly. I didn't
Yeah.
really have we never really had family over. We never had like big barbecues. You said you love big barbecues. Did you have a lot of family in that area where you grew up? And like, did you have family get-togethers regularly?
I mean, majority of my family's from like Pennsylvania, New
Oh,
Jersey, Delaware. So we had no family in Virginia, but all of those places in the East Coast are so close, like 4 hours to each
oh
other.
yeah.
So we would go and see family a lot, or family would come and see us. And I feel like at least once or twice a year, there was always like some type of family party we would have. But yeah, my family all just likes to turn up. So it's like, I mean, I get the most drunk with my family. Like
Oh,
yeah.
all right. Challenge accepted. Next time I see you out at the comedy
Okay.
club. Is your
Try to get me drunker.
I know, right? I love your fiance, Tim, and we can't just breeze over him because he's a funny person himself and a very
Yeah.
talented pizza chef as well.
Yes.
Which I am excited about tasting some of his pizza this week.
Yeah, you ordered some.
I did. And so first off, I'll say this. He is such an inconsiderate piece of shit because he emailed me the order and he was
Yes.
like, friends and family discount. You can get this for free. And I'm like, you bastard. I'm paying. Now I've got to pay extra.
Oh
Because,
no.
no, I do. I'm like, I ordered a pizza and then I ordered another slice of pizza and then I ordered a slice of pie. And I was like, all right, this is no. I'm gonna pay him.
Oh,
I'm gonna
well,
pay
that's
him the
so
money.
nice.
But
You're gonna
he's
love it.
oh my God, I can't wait. He's a very funny dude, cool guy. When you get together with his family, does his family turn up just as much as yours? And where's his family from?
He has a smaller family, and I think his family's very like, there's a few of them who like to turn up, and then
Okay.
there's like a lot of like Tim doesn't drink at all.
Really?
Not at all.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I know. Which you would think, because I'm clearly an alcoholic, that would
No,
be a problem, but it's really great. I don't know.
that's interesting. So like in Florida, that good on him, good for him.
Yeah, yeah.
That like the older I get, the more I realize, okay, that's like a healthy choice, whatever. But growing
Yeah.
up, yeah, exactly. Maybe he's in
Mhm.
touch with his feelings and he's a well-grounded person. But
Yeah.
growing up, everybody would always look at that person and be like, what's wrong with you? Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm on my 10th beer. What's wrong with you?
I know, especially people who drink, like my family, it definitely took them time to get used to it, because they'd be like, "What do you mean? What do you mean you're not drinking? What do you mean you're not gonna have a drink?" And
Yeah.
even still, they're like, "I just think I just really wish I could have a beer with him." And I'm like, "Okay, well, he's not, I mean, he'll like, he doesn't drink, not because he's sober or anything.
Right.
He's someone who just never has never liked it. And so he just doesn't. And I definitely have make him still. I'll make him try stuff. I'll be like, try this. And he's always like, it's disgusting.
Like, he just doesn't have a taste for it. Yeah, it's like
No.
someone that doesn't like mushrooms or doesn't like kale. Like, yeah, I get it. That's cool. I
Yeah,
gotta respect that.
exactly. And it's like, I don't think the juice isn't worth the squeeze for him. So
Yeah, I could imagine some of my family friends or some of my friends on the East Coast would be like, yeah, I don't drink. all right, yeah, but just have a beer. You know, you're
Yeah.
yeah, that just means you're
Yeah.
having a beer, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
just
oh
one
yeah.
beer though. Yeah, yeah, of
I
course I'll
was
just
in
have one beer.
I was at this winery. This sounds much more fancy than it really is, but
Mhm.
I was at this winery with a friend out here in California. It was called Rosenthal, and
Mhm.
my friend's band plays in this like cover band, this like 90s cover band, and Christina came with me one time,
Yeah.
but which was fun. But I went another time, this was like months before, and went to go see them with a couple of friends, and we were really drunk. Like we were drinking with the band, and that's
Yeah.
enough. Like, you know, like if you're drinking with the band, that, you know, any band, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. They're going hard. And so I really like, then we were like smoking weed, and we were like getting drunk at Rosenthal Winery, which, like, when you think winery, I think like stuffy, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
very uptight, but it's just on the beach in Malibu, and
Ooh.
there's like 3 birthday parties happening over on this side. There's live music on stage, and then there's 2 or 3 like engagement parties or, you know, bridal showers happening, and I'm like, oh my god,
Wow.
this is like insane. and
Yeah.
then and then I was just like, oh man, I can't, you know, like I'm not ready to go back right now. I need to sober up a bit. And then
Yeah.
I walked down the street, my buddy Avery, and I go, and I go, yeah, let's get some food. Let's get something to eat. You know, I've been drinking wine and, you know, all day in the sun. And we go to order like seafood because we're right on the beach. And I'm like, you know what? I need to sober up. I'm gonna have a beer. I'm gonna,
Yeah,
I was like, sometimes you just got to sober up with a beer, and
you do.
it was
You
just
do.
insane. Being,
I, I
yeah, go
I
ahead.
can always have a beer. I can pretty much always have a beer. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Like especially light beers. Like I
yeah.
used to love IPAs and now I can't drink them anymore. But like a Corona, I love a Corona.
Oh yeah, in the sun. Who doesn't?
I love a Corona. I could drink like a 12 pack and be like, I feel great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, so like you're Virginia, you're in Maryland.
Mhm.
Seafood is, I mean, as someone who has really never visited anywhere in either of those states other than Richmond or Norfolk,
Yes.
is there a lot of like seafood there? Like, is it as obvious
Ye-
as people might expect?
I mean, Maryland is known for blue crabs.
Hmm.
And so where I'm from in Virginia, it's like we're right by the Chesapeake Bay. So blue crabs is like what that area is known for. And like, that's my favorite food in the whole world. I could literally eat a dozen crabs and drink a dozen Coronas
Oh
and
my
I would be
gosh.
happy. I'd be
Holy
happy.
cow. How cool is
That,
that?
that's my like crack open some blue crab or you Old Bay.
So tell me, okay,
So good.
explain to me the Old Bay situation, because this is, you know, just a novice, you know,
Yeah.
just kind of getting into it. I'm familiar with blue crab. I'm familiar with crabs, and the Old Bay seasoning or the seasonings go on the shell, but you're obviously not eating the shell. So why are we seasoning the crab shells?
You know what? I don't know the whole science behind it, but my thought is are steaming them and
Okay. Oh.
I maybe they put on I don't think they do until they're after, but they're wet. They come out wet. So then
Mm.
you cover them in this spicy sauce and it kind of, is just mostly on the shell. But what you do is you have to crack open, so full body crabs. You have to crack the back, crack the body in half. You're pulling all the meats out.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
while you're doing that, you're taking like whatever Old Bay you can from the shell and you're making a little Old Bay pile.
Oh.
Like, you would lay down like a brown, like a paper bag, like a
Okay.
big,
Right. To cover the table.
because it's messy.
And you've got
So
to
you
eat
would,
outside, right? You got to eat outside in like your play clothes, not like, you know, a shirt and tie.
you got to eat outside in your bikini that you've been wearing all day from the beach, drunk as hell with some Coronas. You lay down this mat. You get a bowl so you can clean if you want to. I don't clean them because I like the little dirty stuff inside of the crabs.
You're like, if
Then
it's inside it, I'm gonna eat it. Yeah,
I'm gonna eat it.
I made that decision in the pandemic too. I was like,
Yeah.
I decided to, you know, whatever is offered to me, I'm gonna eat it. So I'm with you on that.
I'm
So
gonna eat it.
I'm gonna eat it.
I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna eat it. So
I'm gonna eat it.
so while you do it, you know,
Yeah.
you're peeling, you make your pile Old Bay, you make your pile crab, or I just go as, but you take it and then you dip that in the Old Bay.
Ooh.
So
Oh yeah, you got
really good.
so it's an unspecific pile. It's not like a ramekin or like a little a
No,
cup.
you're just you're
Yeah.
taking your fingers to the back of the shell and you're scooping like a clump and then you're putting it down.
I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
how often would you have, you know, like you're talking steaming these crabs? That's how you prepare them, or do you put them on like a grill
You
or something
usually
like that?
would like you usually would just buy them already steamed. So you'd get like a
Okay.
bushel steamed with the Old Bay on them. But usually like I wish it was like a every weekend because
Mm.
I'd be so happy. But it was mostly like once a year when we would go to the beach. We would like,
Oh, fun.
or now that we're older, like sometimes if all the kids are coming home, my mom would be like, I'm gonna get crabs. And I'm like,
Oh,
yes. So mostly just once a year though, and I would really look forward to it. And I would go, like they'd be like, we got the crabs, and I would sit outside for hours. Like I was always the last one to leave the crab table.
oh my gosh, that is so cool.
Yeah.
What so then was that just like a big like if you're going, like obviously you grew up here, but like was that something you would do for big events like homecoming dance or like like sweet
No,
16 birthdays and stuff like that, or
it
what?
no, it's like it's I hate to talk bad about it, but it's kind of like a
No.
trashy version of crabs because it's
Okay.
dirty. Like
Right.
you're dirty, they stink, your fingers are like covered in food. I would say that's more of like if you're gonna go to a beach town out there, like get a bushel of crabs and get a bunch of beer and just like go ham. But some people don't like the work. It's work. You have to
It is.
crack a
Yeah.
whole crab open.
So like for like little kids,
Yeah.
do you have to like do it for them?
Yeah,
Kind of.
but I was like raised like when I learned how to do crabs, to do them.
Yeah.
It was like my grandpa Bud was the one who would like teach us the best way to like open crabs up, and he told us, all of us, like if you want to eat them, you have to learn to open them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you don't open them, you don't get them, because some people in my family don't like it, and then it's like, well, like my little sister is like, I like the crab, I just don't want to eat it, and I'm like, I'm working for this. This is my crab. Like
Yeah.
if you want crab, you have to work for it.
Well, you know what's cool is so you mentioned your grandparents or your grandpa.
Yeah.
Did you grow up close to them, or was this just for like the holidays and stuff like that?
You know, like I said, they were all from like Pennsylvania, Jersey, Delaware. So we would really just mostly see family like once a year at Christmas or sometimes twice a year. Like as we got older, my mom started like loving throwing like summer family parties.
Cool.
So then we would see the family in the summer and then also in the winter, but usually just like twice a year because it just gets hard being that far away, like 4 hours. And
Yeah.
then, you know, I have three siblings, and then my other aunts had kids, and my family's really big. Like my mom is a child of six, my dad's a child of four, and
Whoa.
everybody has kids. So I have like a ton of cousins, and we're all very close, which is amazing.
That's yeah.
I don't know how my family did it because they really put effort in to make sure we all grew up together.
That's incredible. And like, yeah, so were a lot of in Pennsylvania, like you mentioned, or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Most of them were like in like the Philadelphia area. So like,
Okay, cool.
yeah, my majority of my family is like Philly
Okay,
family. So
cool. Yeah, I grew up with my grandparents and my mom, and I never knew my dad, so that whole half of my family I don't know.
yeah,
But we didn't really have like family gatherings or like, you know, holidays. Like my mom has a sister, so my aunt lives out in Colorado, and she would visit with my two cousins once every other year because they wanted to go to Disney, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then yeah, and it was like a big thing
yeah,
when they came. But I remember my grandpa, he like, that is incredible advice that your grandpa gave you, or like very good wisdom, which is like, oh well, if you can't
yeah,
open it yourself, you can't eat it. Like that's showing hard work. Like my grandpa was always just like he was just trying to give me he was just trying to impart like wisdom about like how to read people or how
Mm,
to relate to people. And he'd been in the military as a Marine, and then he designed pools and stuff before he retired.
yeah.
But he passed away in '07, and he
Mm.
was just like, yeah, it was kind of cool because we had like a little patio in the back of our apartment, and he would just be out there like chain smoking cigarettes.
Oh yeah.
But he didn't like I guess what he did like was like walnuts, and so like or pecans. I'm not no not pecans. I think it was walnuts. Yeah, but he would like have to crack them open and stuff.
Yes, the big ones.
Yeah, which was like
Yeah.
so fun for me.
Yeah.
And that's such like a fun thing. Did
Yeah.
on any of these like big family like trips or anything, did anything
Yep.
ever go crazy? Did anything ever go wild, or was it pretty contained because everybody was a little drunk and stayed put?
It was pretty much always wild because you're dealing with like 12 people who are just absolutely blasted out of their minds. So I feel like every family trip, there was always something that
Yeah,
happened that we'd be like, that was crazy.
that's how family trips need to be, right?
Yeah. As we've gotten older, they've calmed down because I think all of us are now very anxious and very like, let's nobody get into a big fight and nobody like do anything crazy or
I
run
remember
away.
I remember one time we were about 2.5, 3 hours from Disney World, and my cousins were in town, and we started a drive up. We had this minivan, and
Yeah.
it was me, my grandpa, my grandma, my mom, and then Michael and Jackson, which are my cousins' names, Michael and Jackson, which I and my aunt Patricia. And apparently Patricia had no idea that she did this, that she named them Michael and Jackson.
Mm,
But my mom was reaching because we brought like a little cooler. And I don't know if my parents were drinking or not, but they definitely kept it from me. You know what I mean? And then as I
yeah.
got older, I was like, oh, that smells familiar. And then it was like, oh, that's weed. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But my
That's
mom,
great.
my mom was like going in the back of the minivan to like grab a soda or water or something like that. And her
Mhm.
pants split like right down the middle, like
Oh
right
no.
down the butt part. And she was so upset. She was like, we were already 2 hours into this drive. She was like, we have to go back. We have to go back home. He was like, I was like,
No.
Mom, I wasn't saying anything. I don't know
No.
what I was doing. But my grandma was like, we'll buy you other pants. There's a
Yeah.
Walmart on the way. She's like, no, I want, I I can't go in there with stretch pants. And she's like, tell me what your size is. And she's like, no, I want my pants at home. And I'm like, oh my God.
So did you go all the way back home?
I think I don't remember exactly what happened,
Yeah.
but I think we convinced her to go to an outlet store, and she tied like a hoodie around her waist to
Mhm.
cover up her split pants. But it was such a big ordeal. And I was like, oh my, I was like, Mom, thinking back on it,
Yeah.
I should have just been like, Mom, it's just us. You're fine.
Yeah.
You'll
We
be
don't care.
you'll be okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Did you ever have like big like theme park trips? Because obviously in Florida
Yeah.
we do that all the time. Did you ever go to like Six Flags, or what was close to you?
So when we were in Maryland, we used to go to this place called Paramount King's Dominion,
Oh
which
wow.
was it was like by Paramount, but then Paramount pulled out, and then it was just like it was Paramount King's Dominion for I think several years, and then Paramount didn't want to be associated with the park anymore, so then it just became King's Dominion,
They
and then
realized
they
how
had
terrible of a name that was. How
I
long
don't
of a
know.
name.
And then they had to take all the characters that Paramount owned, so that it was like, what's going on? What is this park now? It was so weird. But we
How
went to Disney
creepy.
World. We went to Disney World I think twice
Okay.
when we were really little, and then when I lived in Virginia.
Hmm.
And we drove 16 hours
Ugh.
down to Florida.
Ugh.
Um
Was it you that wanted to do it, or were your parents like, hey, you've got to experience this as a kid?
no, I think they wanted us to experience it, and
Nice.
like it's funny how everyone just has different memories of it, but like what had happened is they put us to bed,
Uh-huh.
and then like an hour or two later they woke us up, and we're like, we're going to Disney World, get in the car, yay. But we were so tired that we
Yeah.
all were like cranky, and we were like thought we're going to school, or we just, and so then my dad remembers it like nobody wanted to go and everyone was just mad. And I was like, I was so excited. I was so excited once we were in the car that I literally, for the entire ride, starting in Virginia, the entire ride, I was looking out the car window to see if I could see alligators.
That's
Like
amazing.
the whole, I didn't sleep. My parents were like, "What are you looking for?" And I was like, "Alligators." Like I'm gonna, like I would see one off of a Florida highway.
Well, I mean, that happens. Like
Maybe.
I could just see you with like your little face pressed against
Literally.
the window.
Yeah. Like just not sleeping, just staring. Because if I close my eyes, I'll miss it.
I mean, there's a road called Alligator Alley in Florida that goes east to west, and it's called Route 4. It's technically Route 41, but called Alligator Alley. And traffic stops when little families of alligators cross on by. So
That's
you
crazy.
weren't too far off.
Yeah, I
Uh,
could have seen one.
you could have seen one. That would have. Oh man, that would have been great.
But I didn't. I didn't. Yeah, I don't know if I've told you this, but my parents are actually moving to Florida.
Really?
Yes.
Everybody does. Where in Florida are they moving to?
I think they're moving to Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Okay, now why
Yeah.
Jacksonville? Do they love punk music?
I don't I I truly don't know the answer. I think like somebody was like, you guys should like look there. And then they were like, okay. Because we've never been to Jacksonville. They've never been to Jacksonville.
They should go. What do you wait? Go first.
I think they did. And I think like they did, but they were like going, being like, we might live here. And then they were like, great. But it's not like we vacationed there for years and they're like, we want to live here. So we'll see. I feel
Yeah.
they're gonna move there and then be like, we don't like it here or something. But it's like, I think it's like on a river. They're building like a river house. So that'll be nice.
That's nice. I think Jacksonville has some of the most. Yeah, you'll be a honorary Floridian at that point.
Yeah, right.
Jacksonville has, I think, the most bridges of any city, and it's the biggest landmass of any city in Florida, and I believe the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
And also, yeah, the only reason I would move there is if I got really into punk music and only drank PBR.
Okay. Well, I'll tell them they have to get into that then.
Tell them, yeah, they'll fit in.
You have to.
Go to Jacksonville Jaguar games. In that football stadium, there's
Yes.
like a jacuzzi and a pool. Do you know that?
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, so they'll enjoy it.
They'll love it. They can't wait.
What's crazy? They can't wait. They can't wait.
Yeah. It'll just, the weirdest thing will be them leaving my childhood home. That'll be weird.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
You know, growing up there, I really hated it a lot. And then going back as an adult, I think I can appreciate how beautiful like that area is. And I think it's just always been there, that it'll be very weird. Like I think it won't hit me until it's like it's on the market, and I'll be like,
yeah. You know, that's what you know, I do always say this, but that's kind of why I enjoy this podcast, is because you know, you really can't go home again. Like you can go home again, but it means something different, or it's a different place. I know when I go home, my childhood home, or growing up for the in Florida, the first half of my life there, I lived in a 65 plus condo with my grandparents and my mom, and I shared a room with my mom. So I was technically living there illegally. Yeah. And yeah. And then we moved into a house when I think I was in like 6th or 7th grade. And now when I go back there, my mom has turned my room into an additional closet for her.
Great.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's so different. It's so different when you go back. It's not the same.
Yeah, but you know, it's a good home base to have, right? To like get back in touch. So are you looking forward to visiting your parents in Jacksonville when they eventually move?
Yes, I am, because they're like, it's gonna be on a river and we get to like do river stuff. So that'll be fun, I think. I think I'm just excited. I always am excited for like something new. So I'm like, cool.
Is there anything new that you've done recently that that stands out?
Yeah,
like
I mean, I just went camping and I did water wakeboarding.
You were wakeboarding.
Yes, we're
Did you
like
get
a
up?
boat. Yes, I did get up.
Whoa.
I got
That's
up a
not
couple
easy.
times.
It's
Oh
not
my
easy.
God.
Yeah.
No, I was so sore, like in this part of my arm
Yeah.
for like a week. Like, but it was very fun. And it's also scary because when you're up or if you're trying to get, you just keep smacking and smacking and smacking the water that
Yeah.
you're like, this hurts really bad. But I'm such a, like, I'm not a quitter. So I'm like, well, I will keep trying to get up until like I literally can't anymore. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
In Florida, there was a time when I lived in Orlando, there was a time where just about every other weekend, me and my buddy Sean would go to this like place called, I think it was called Orlando Water Sports, and it had a wakeboard cable. So instead of being driven or dragged or whatever by a boat, you would get
Yeah.
pulled by a halo cable in the air.
Oh,
Go
wow.
off like ramps and stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was very
That's
cool.
fun.
It was more consistent. That's in Orlando. Tell your parents to check that out.
Okay, I will.
Central Florida. But so before you were mentioning beaches, we'll wrap this
Yeah.
up in a moment. But you're mentioning beaches and like trashy beaches and stuff. The trashy beaches in Florida have to be Fort Myers Beach, have to be Panama City, etc. When you would go to those beaches, or the trashy beaches that you grew up near, what would you do? Like, what's a typical afternoon?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because depending on your age, it was very different. Like I went there my whole life. So like when I was little, you would go to the beach. My family too, like even though we're on the East Coast, the beach to us was like we went once a year and it was like our beach trip. So my family would just go to sit on the beach and sit on the beach for hours. So like they'd bring coolers of beer, they'd sit on the beach, and then when you're little, like sand castles go in the water. But then when you get older, you're like, we're just getting drunk on the beach. And then after getting drunk on the beach, you would then be like, okay, we're gonna go to the boardwalk and get more drunk. Or like when I was, there was this point, like, because I did it my whole life, like from childhood to like my middle school, high school years. And in high school, this Ocean City, Maryland has this under 21 nightclub.
Oh no.
Called H2O.
Ugh.
And I would go there. I would go there so much. Like I was, me and my cousins, speaking of Mike's Hard Lemonades.
Oh God.
Me and my cousins would play flip cup with Mike's Hard Lemonades.
Oh no.
We would get sloshed on Mike's Hards. And then we would go to this under 21 club. And it was like, honestly, like thinking back about it, it's pretty raunchy for like under 21. Like it's just everyone's grinding, everyone's making out. Like there was a time where we went.
Yeah.
They used to have foam nights, like foam nights.
I was just gonna say, there's always a foam night. Every beach club has a foam night. Imagine being an adult there. There's all these horned up kids grinding against each other, like essentially like grinding so hard that their clothing material is turning into dust.
Wet.
and they're making out, and there's foam everywhere.
Well, and that's the crazy thing is you weren't allowed in if you were over 21. So
but there's got to be like chaperones there.
Yes, I mean, there's
like the bartenders. This wasn't like the under 21 village. Like there are bartenders, or like the owner wasn't like some 17-year-old kid.
No, that I mean, I think about that now. Like how weird for the DJ. Like you're like, and the bartender and the bouncer. And then there was one time where Vinny from Jersey Shore was going to be there, and I could care less about that show, but my cousins are from Jersey and they're like, we've got to go see Vinny. Like this is our club, we got to go see Vinny. And we went, and it was crazy and packed, and we somehow like pushed our way to the front.
Oh no.
And this girl tried to fight me too at one point.
Oh no.
Because I like cut her, I think she tried to punch me. And I was so vicious. I was like, do it, hit me. And then the bouncers kicked her out, and I was like, thank you.
Just to get close to Vinny from Jersey Shore.
And mostly just to like for my I didn't care. I was like, I'm doing this for my cousins. And then we got up, and all you get to do is take a picture with Vinny. So we like took a picture, but my cousins are identical twins, and hot identical twins.
Sure.
So like Vinny and Vinny's like entourage were like to us. And we were like, yay. And we're 16.
Oh no.
And we ended up getting like Vinny's cousin's number or something. And they wanted us to like, they wanted us to come over to their hotel. It was, and like when we were that, we thought that was amazing. And then we told our moms, and we were like, please let us go. We have to go to this. We have to go see Vinny. And they had to like literally be like, girls, do you know why they want you to come? And we were like, no. And they were like, they want to have sex with you. We were like,
oh no, Mom.
No.
It's like, well, they're hooked up to MTV. 16 and Pregnant is on the air right now. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Come on, Mom, you're holding back my career.
So we never hung out with him after that. But and then the craziest thing, sorry, this story's so long. But the craziest thing is we went back to that beach town because we went a lot. And we finally stopped going because I think my family was like, this is too trashy. But I went as like an adult, and they have in these small beach towns, they play commercials for like this, the ski, the all the little shops. And so a commercial played for H2O Club, and on the screen they show Vinny, and it's me and my cousins with Vinny.
No.
And I was like, they're using us on this commercial.
You're famous.
Yeah, I mean, in Ocean City, Maryland, I'm famous.
Ocean City famous. That's incredible. Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like at the beginning of that, you're talking about the fact that, the adventure or the activity is going to the beach. Then you're there and it's just like, bro, you're there.
Yeah.
Like that's what we would do growing up. And also like going back there, I don't think we know any different. So all my friends act the same, which is we get to the beach, we get there, it's fun. We're driving with the windows down. It's hot, but who cares? We park. That's always a big deal. Then we get there and we just sit down and drink, or we just like walk the beach for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
Just not even trying to meet people. Just like no apparent reason. Just walk up and down the beach. Like, all right, cool, great.
Let's just go on a walk.
And then, and then we would always go to the Hooters. My favorite Hooters right on Fort Myers Beach, probably the best Hooters in the world. And by the way, we would always have friends that work there, and I'm sure I still have some friends that work there.
I love that.
Probably some women I need to avoid that still work there. So
oh no.
Yeah. But we would go there, and it would just be like the most central meeting point. And I was talking to my friends the other day, the guys that I grew up with, and everybody has they have like their home, like growing up in Florida, we have our hometown Hooters.
Yes.
And then our favorite Hooters. So and we would go there, like our parents would bring us there, our friends' parents would bring us there to like watch the game, or it was just fascinating. And if you visited Fort Myers, which is the city next to where I grew up in Cape Coral, I would say go to the Hooters and stay at the Lani Kai, which is must be 15-20 stories tall. It's a hotel, and all the rooms are basically like prison cells.
Perfect. That's all you need. You're not spending time in your room.
It's concrete. It's a twin bed. It's bars on the windows so we don't jump.
That's so great.
I think it's thrown out. That's my recommendation. So
okay.
One good thing. You're fine. Like growing up in Northern Virginia, where you grew up. What's if I for some reason find myself there, what's one thing I need to check out or do that might be, say touristy, or something that, I would enjoy trying to blend in with the people of Northern Virginia?
Honestly, like it is such a boring suburban town that like I feel like I would just tell you to go to DC because it's so close. And I truly feel like I have always been embarrassed that I'm from Virginia, because it's like a southern state, and I feel like people would always be like, you're southern, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Right. And when I moved out here, I would just tell people I'm from DC. Sure. Because I was like, that sounds cooler. But then people would be like, where in DC? And I'd be like, Virginia. And they'd be like, what? So I don't know. I mean, if you're in Northern Virginia, you should come to my parents' house, and you can eat some crabs and drink Coronas, and we can swim in their pool.
Hey,
That's what I would say.
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Well,
Yeah.
Devon, I really appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for telling us about growing up and what it was all about. And yeah, I will, people can find you on your Instagram, and
Yeah.
see you on a non-specific television show coming up soon.
Yeah. On Netflix.
Oh, okay. That does narrow it down.
It does it.
There's only a couple thousand. Oh, and is that how you met your fiance? Was it Love on the Spectrum?
Yes.
Okay, I had a feeling. All right,
Yeah.
Floridians, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.